Hey guys. So part 2 of things that you should be prepared for your dreadlocks. What to prep for. This is gonna be physical changes. And so in my experience, things that I didn't realize would change, I'm going to bestow my knowledge unto you. First thing is I have, because of the method that I'm using, backcombing, twist and rip, sometimes crochet, and the neglect method. When your dreads are maturing, you're going to have loops of hair that are tightening and doing the thing that they do. I'll give you an example. This one's really short, but obviously it used to be long. So you can see those loops of hair. Well, as you can imagine, you're going to get caught on things, and things are going to get caught on you. I'll give you some examples. So trees, if you like to hike, or if you don't even like to hike, if you just have to like bend under trees and stuff, keep in mind that normally regular hair, especially if it's down, a tree will just drag across your hair and it'll be fine. Like you might have like a leaf or something in your hair. But with dreadlocks, especially with like you not being able to run your fingers through your hair, a tree or a branch or something like that will run past your hair and it'll get stuck, and you'll get stuck in the tree. And I know this because it's happened to me, and I've had to break off a piece of a tree, like a branch, walk inside, and pull a branch out of my hair. It was ridiculous, and it was very embarrassing, and I'm sharing it with y'all. So, another thing is earrings. If you're a guy or a girl, if you've got gauges and you've got those really gorgeous, like I think they're like clay earrings that people make all the time, and they will get caught in your dreads. So when you wear them, either put your hair back or be really like considerate of it, because I don't like getting my earlobes pulled. Like it hurts. And so earrings. I'm wearing loops right now. See, look, I'm attached. I'm missing the ball in like 2 of my earrings, and so like I get hair in those all the time. For girls and guys, if you have studs in your ears and you have long hair, you always have the risk of a strand or 2 getting wrapped around the stud, going into the piercing, and it getting infected. So keep that in mind. Keep your earrings really clean. Look out for hairs. These kind of earrings work great. There's no way for it to get caught, especially when you're in the beginning stages. Another thing, and this is going to be the bane of your existence until you decide to get rid of your dreadlocks or you die, and that is Velcro. Just think about it. You are the soft side of like the fuzzy side of Velcro forever, and everything will get stuck on you or in it. So I always check my dreads for stuff. And actually coming in contact with Velcro is really fun to try and like get detached from Velcro, and it's absolutely hilarious. I'm sure it's pretty hilarious to watch me try and pull Velcro out of my hair. Yeah. Another thing that I didn't consider are zippers. My hair's pretty long, and I have these loops, and so like it'll get caught on zippers. Worse than zippers are buttons, like tiny buttons on like fronts of shirts. Those get caught all the time. It sucks. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind. And if you have a favorite hat, probably not going to fit you after a couple of months because your hair is going to be thickening, which I'm going to be talking about. If you ride a motorcycle, you're probably going to have to buy another motorcycle helmet after your dreads have matured. You'll probably have to go up, like I've heard people go up like 2 or 3 sizes. So yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, so next thing is, if you don't already know, the difference between your regular hair and your fully dreaded, mature dreadlocks like the thickness is significant. A fully dreaded ponytail, and apparently a dreadlock, or dreadlocks in a ponytail are called a dragon tail because it's so thick, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so a dragon tail is at least that big. And for some people, I'm sure it's bigger. And a regular ponytail, on average, is probably about that big. So that's a huge difference. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. One, all of the loose hair that you normally shed, you're not losing that anymore. You're not shedding anymore. It's all staying in your hair, and that's why your hair can grow so long. One of the reasons that your hair can grow so long. And the other reason is that your hair is shrinking. And what happens is that your hair is looping up on itself and knotting up, and the root is basically pulling all the hair up, and it's getting shorter but fatter at the same time. So those two things happening, your hair gets significantly thicker. I have a really good dread right here that's an example of that. And you can see like all these loops here were all straight, and it just kind of like accordioned in on itself. This is how long my hair should be. I mean, this is a pretty extreme dreadlock, but yeah. And that's how much length I've lost. So I've lost at least like my forearm's length of hair. So if your hair is really short, like 3 inches. I know at about 3 inches you can start dreading your hair. Difficultly, but you can do it. So if your hair is really short, it's going to get even shorter. So if you don't like your hair, you don't want your hair any shorter than that, or your hair is this short and you don't want it to get this short, then you may want to let your hair grow out a little longer. Wait a little bit. It's cool. Another thing about thickening and shortening that you need to keep in mind is your drying time. You will take, some people take up to, like fully mature dreads take up to like 3 or 4 hours to completely dry. Some of your dreads will end up being so dense that you can't even stick your finger through them. You can't even stick a bobby pin through them. I have a dread like that now. And God knows if the center of that dread is wet or not. You can't feel it. Like the outside will feel completely dry, but the centers can still be wet. Now, if you make it a habit of going to bed with a wet head, then you're going to start to get mildew smell, and that's gross. So you can fix that with essential oils, or you can just, not take a shower at night. You can take a shower several hours before you go to bed if you still insist on taking a shower at nighttime. There's blow dryers. A lot of people use like those ShamWow like squeegee rags. Those work. There's all different kinds of like little tricks that you'll learn. But right now I don't have to worry about that as much because I have a lot of loose hair, but it's a really good habit to get into. I really try not to take a shower at night at all anymore. I take them in the mornings. Okay. The next thing, and the other thing, about the other thing about thickening and shortening is that whenever you section off your hair, keep in mind that because a section of hair will get thicker, that means that however big your section is on your scalp is how big the fully mature dread, or how wide the fully mature dread will be. So, so this section right here, that's how wide the dread will be. Right now, the hair is, super, super skinny, which is why I can put a tiny bead on it. But this is how big my dread will be right there. So keep that in mind when you're doing your separating. I've had to split several of my dreads because they were like 3 inches wide. I didn't want 3-inch wide dreads. So yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's talk about loosening and fuzziness. I get questions all the time about people, about their dreads loosening. This especially applies for people that used backcombing and twist and rip, because they spend hours and hours backcombing and twisting and ripping their hair, and a couple days later, most, if not all of it, comes out. Something to keep in mind with using those methods is that regardless of your hair type, regardless of your ethnicity, if you don't comb your hair will dread. Using these methods is simply kickstarting it. Now, when you kickstart it, You take a huge step forward and you take many steps backward. So the method is a little counterintuitive and has like a little bit of depression associated with it, because you spend all this time, all these hours, you know, fixing your hair, making perfect, and you think you're making progress, and then it all starts loosening, and you're like, it's coming out. So that's where the depression comes in, or the anxiety, and so it's cool. It's okay. Keep that in mind if you use those methods. A lot of it is going to come out. Don't start doing it over again, because if you start twisting and ripping and backcombing your hair again, you're not letting your hair knot. Let it be. It's doing what it's doing for a reason. Now, the reason that you're going to be so fuzzy, especially in the beginning months, the reason that it's okay that your hair loosen is because hair has its own physics, obviously. There is going to be an up and down flow that you need to be aware of. I didn't realize this until several months into my journey, that there were days that I was really fuzzy and I looked horrible, and then there were days that I would look at my hair and it would be all nice and tight and pretty and awesome. Right now I'm not too fuzzy, so I'm okay. And the reason for that is that the knots, you'll have days that you're really loose and fuzzy, and you feel like everything is coming out, but that's okay. You know you're making progress. That's actually a good sign. Don't mess with it, because what's happening is your knots are loosening up. They're opening to allow movement, to allow all those loose hairs to be pulled into those loose knots. And then on the days that you have good hair days, on the days that everything is nice and tight, that all those loose hairs that got caught in the movement of having those loose knots, it all tightens back up, and it pulls all those stray hairs in. So you're making progress. Don't start, palm rolling and back combing and twisting and ripping when your hair gets loose, because you're not letting all that open up. I had a point that I had a huge lump here, and it was really loose. And so I thought it looked horrible. Like, it was the only bump in my whole head. Like, if I had several bumps, it would have been okay. And so, being superficial, I took a bobby pin, and I bobby pinned it down, and I kept it down. And it didn't change. Like, every time I took the bobby pin out, it stayed this lump. It was horrible. So I tried all different kinds of things. And then I finally started reading and talking to people, and they said leave it alone. And the reason for it was because that lump was actually a sign that my roots were tightening. That dreadlock now, here's that dreadlock. It's pretty much dreaded all the way to the scalp. That was the remnants of the bump. Like, the bump went all the way up to here. So if you start messing with that, your roots aren't going to tighten. You're going to be taking more steps backwards than steps forward. Now, I'm not saying that re-back combing or retwisting and ripping your hair or palm rolling is not going to have any effect at all. It will have some effect, but it's not necessary. And I really think that you'll make more progress if you just leave it alone. All of those things are okay. You can do them, but again, you'll be taking more steps backwards than forwards, and you want steps forward. So, okay. Then I want to talk about just frizziness all by itself. People get depressed because they go look in the mirror and they look like they stuck their finger in a light socket. There are days that I have that, and you're just like, ugh, I just don't want to be in public. Well, you're now deciding whether or not you want dreadlocks. I'm telling you right now, come to accept that you will have frizziness. I'm sorry. It sucks, but I'm sorry. It's part of the hairstyle. I'm assuming that most people are even interested in dreadlocks because they like the way they look. Makes sense, right? Well, all the pictures that you see of people with dreadlocks, all the like people in the magazines or even people on the internet, whatever, the reason that they look so good is for a couple of reasons. One is the lighting and the distance. And you can easily mask frizziness based on lighting. And two is the image might be photoshopped. I really hope people are thinking about that kind of thing. Three is because when you're looking at someone else, you're looking at the entire picture. And so you're not looking at every single little dreadlock. We are our own worst critics. And so when you look in the mirror, you're going to be over concentrating on all of these things when it's probably not as big a deal as you think it is. And it's okay. So now if your frizziness is an issue because you need to look professional for a day or two, I'm going to give you some tips on trying to fix it temporarily. Frizziness is a part of it, especially in the beginning stages, and it's okay. I personally think it's a good sign. Like, it means that your hair is loosening. It means that a couple days later it's going to tighten. So, or a couple weeks later even, depending on your hair type. You can use bobby pins, like I was talking about, if you look professional. You can use, in moderation, you can use jojoba oil. I think that's how you say it. And you're going to need to use like a base oil to use with it, like coconut oil or something like that, to kind of dilute it. And you need to use it in moderation for two reasons. One, because it will make you look a little bit greasy. I think it will make you look a little bit greasy. It made me look greasy. But I used way too much. And the other reason is because, especially in the beginning stages, jojoba oil has a habit, especially if you use it often, of making your hair silky smooth. And that silkiness will remove some of your knots. And that's not what you want. You want knots. So use it in moderation for those reasons. The other thing that you can use, which is fantastic, you can use it as much as I think you can use it as much as you want, is straight 100% aloe. And not the kind of aloe that's like gel that you buy from Walmart or something and use it for lotion. That's got all this other different stuff in it. When you look at the ingredients, all it will say is aloe. That's it. You have to keep it in the fridge in order for it to stay preserved. Or you can just go buy an aloe plant and you just mash it up. So you can use aloe. Comes out, it rinses clean, so it doesn't leave a residue in your hair, which is good. It works great for dandruff. If you have an itchy scalp, aloe is fantastic. Okay, and then the other thing is that your temporary solutions are, you can do root rubbing and palm rolling. Also do root rubbing in moderation, because if you do it too much, you'll actually break the hairs from your scalp, and you're gonna have to regrow all of that back. And then you're going to have like tufts of fuzz if you do too much root rubbing. So if you do, your palm rolling will squash all your loose knots if you do it too much. And then you're not going to you're not giving it an option to open to let more loose hair in. So you're actually being counterintuitive. So next thing is washing. The physical routine of washing your hair is going to change. One, you're going to be using a different product. You should already know this if you're wanting dreadlocks. I'm not even going to talk about using different product. You have an option of using either sudsing or non-sudsing shampoo, whatever you choose. And so an example of like non-sudsing shampoo would be like baking soda. So for sudsing shampoo, not much changes. But you are gonna, what I found works better for me is that I kind of like scrub the top of my head and versus like in my hair like I used to with my regular hair. With the non-sudsing shampoo, I pour over the back of my head, like I flip my head upside down and then I pour over the back. And then I also pour over the top of my head. And I'll do that several times to make sure that I'm getting the most out of whatever I've made. Let's see here. Um, some people don't wash all of their dreadlocks, they just wash their scalp. But honestly, with regular hair, are you going to wash just your scalp? No, you're going to wash your whole head. And so I wash my whole head. I think that's important. Especially since you're like a magnet and you like attract things. I would rather spend, especially when my hair gets completely mature, I would rather spend, an extra couple hour, an extra hour or two, drying my hair, making sure my hair is dry and clean versus dry and dirty. So the whole point is taking showers to get clean. Anyway, don't use regular bar soap. Your bar soap is meant for your skin, not for your hair. You're not going to use regular bar soap in regular hair. Don't use it in your dreadlocks. Your dreadlocks are your hair. They're still your hair. It's not like your hair is like magically transformed and you'd be using different things. Anything that you put in your hair, you should feel okay. Anything that you put in your dreadlocks, you should feel perfectly safe with using it if you don't have dreadlocks. I think that's a good rule of thumb. There's stuff in bar soap that's just not meant to be in your hair. Anyway, rinse extra well. Rinse. Whatever you use, whether it's baking soda or Dread Bar soap or Dr. Bronner's or whatever you use, rinse. Because your hair is going to get so dense, you want to make sure you're getting all the way to the center, and getting all the way to the center and getting that clean, and getting all the way to the center and getting all the stuff that you used to get it clean out. And then you can always do, like, every couple of days or every week or so, do a deep clean with baking soda. Or you can just wash every day with baking soda. I already talked about dandruff. Not dandruff. Mildew, and so I'll talk about dandruff. Dandruff. So, first couple weeks, you're going to have a little bit of dandruff, and I'm sorry, but your hair is getting used to not being stimulated by a brush. So you're not getting as much blood flow to your scalp. Easy way to fix that is to tone your scalp, which is basically just giving yourself a scalp massage every day. One, it will help with knots and like starting knots, and two, it feels really good, and three, it will help with your dandruff. Two, if you're having problems with dandruff, drink tons of water. I don't mean Gatorade, I don't mean tea, I mean water. Drink it. Gatorade and all those things have sugar in them. You don't need the sugar, you need hydration. So drink water. Let's see here. If you're still having a problem with dandruff, then you can use the baking soda and baking soda shampoo and apple cider vinegar conditioner. If you still have dandruff afterwards, that means that you probably need to either increase or decrease your proportions of water to baking soda and water to apple cider vinegar. I occasionally get pretty bad dandruff, so I have to use a little bit more baking soda and a ton more apple cider vinegar. It took me about 2 weeks to figure out what was the best formula for me, but I figured it out. So I use like at least a cup of apple cider vinegar to like half a gallon of water. That's a huge proportion. So, and some people say like 2 or 3 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, but it works well for my scalp pH. I don't have dandruff, so see, no dandruff. Anyway, and I think that's it. I guess the other thing I can talk about is rubber bands versus beads. If you're thinking about sectioning off your hair, then you can use, and you're thinking about rubber bands. Rubber bands seems like a good idea, right? No, don't do it. If you stick a rubber band out in the sun, or if you wash it and dry it, you can take that rubber band and pull it, and it will like goo apart, it will like pull apart and break apart. And if you do that with rubber bands, what will happen is that will happen in your knots. And so the outside of the rubber band may feel just fine, like you'll be messing with it and it'll feel just fine. But on the inside, the part that's touching your hair, it will basically be melting into your knots. And that's damn near impossible to get out. So my assumption is that you're using rubber bands to section off your hair because you want each section of hair to dread by itself, apart from the rest of your hair. And if that's the case, then use beads because you don't have to worry about anything gumming up in your hair, and it's just safer. So safer and better, and it looks better too. So I'm using brown beads right now because it's not as obvious for work. But yeah. So if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to ask me. And thanks for watching.